Hello and welcome to Q&A Day. I'm going to answer some questions here. If you have a question, the best way to ask is to reply to the email that sent you here. If you weren't sent here by an email, there's a link down below so you can subscribe to it. Some housekeeping things. The first thing I want to note is I'm going to be making some changes to the email list. The first thing is that I wanted to let you guys know about is that when I release a video, I'm going to be sending out an email specifically saying, hey, go check out this video. Main reason I'm doing that is because of the YouTube algorithm. How it usually works is YouTube shows my new videos to a group of people. If those people respond to it, if it has a high click-through rate, if it has a high watch time, it shows it to a larger group of people. So even if you subscribe, you might not see it. So I want to start to use this email list as a way to kind of push out that content. So my weekly video, you'll get an email about that too. And if you're like, no, I don't want that, I totally understand. Just hit the unsubscribe link in your email box and you won't get these anymore. Another thing is I did a video yesterday and I will not have a video Monday. I usually have a video every Monday. This particular week, I have had two. I did one on the Samsung press conference. It's kind of a long story as to why. Actually, it's not a long story. It's a really short story. I got a new sponsor. I got Squarespace, who has signed up to be a sponsor for 4 videos. Now, there's a little bit of a catch. They want to review everything ahead of time, like the entirety of the video before I publish it, and it can take a couple days to do that. And so what I want to do is I want to get a week ahead, because I kind of have to, with my videos so that they have time to review them before I actually post the video. So anyway, going to be taking a week off next week, and in order to kind of get ahead, and then the week after I will be back, and hopefully if all goes well, that video will be sponsored by Squarespace. Enough about me, on to the questions. The first question I have here is from Sean. The question here is, just moved to Florida from Chicago. How should I juggle drawing and fishing for sharks each morning before I head off to work? Okay, Sean, we need you here, man. We need you to hunt those sharks to keep us safe. Now, I know drawing is fun. I know it's exciting. I know it's a good hobby, but the world needs you. You need to keep us safe. We need you to hunt those sharks. We need you to take one for the team. Sean, buddy, I don't I don't usually do this, but we need you here, man. When I say take one for the team, I mean it. Get rid of those sharks. Next question is from Carlos. He asks, I found it very interesting the fact that you're going iPad only for a period of time. That was my last video from last week or 2 weeks ago. He says that I covered it from the point of view of video editing, but what about design? And he asks about the MacBook Pro versus the iPad Pro from the point of view of a designer. I think design is easier to get into on the iPad than video editing was. And the main reason is Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo and the upcoming Affinity Publisher. That is everything you need to do interface design, graphic design, illustration. There's a learning curve to all that, and it's the workflow in general of handling files and things like that is going to be different on the iPad. However, I think the transition and just having everything you need to actually do the work is already there from the publishing side of things in a way that it's not quite there yet for video. And it's all right now, it's all because of Affinity. Also, we're going to see Photoshop coming to the iPad later this year. They've broken out some of the illustration tools from Photoshop, and what is the name? They're making another app which looks kind of like a Procreate clone that's specifically for illustration. So it looks like more and more apps are coming to the iPad, and I just... part of the reason I didn't cover it as much in my video was because it was so easy. And it was just like, oh, I need to create a graphic. Boom, boom, boom. I created it. I didn't have a problem. Whereas video, there was something to talk about because I kept stubbing my toe. I'm going to mispronounce this name, but this question is from Muscan, who is 12 years old. And the question is, which one do you prefer, the Wacom Intuos, which is the Pro Standard, or the Paper Edition version of it? So the first thing I should point out is that both of them are identical. The only difference is the Paper Edition comes with a couple extra features. Specifically, it comes with a pad of paper that allows you to draw on it. It has an included pen, like not a stylus. Well, it does have a stylus, but it has a physical ballpoint pen that has some kind of, measuring instrument in it, which will, as you draw on a real piece of paper on top of your Intuos, it will record digitally that drawing or your notes or whatever. It's kind of a neat idea, but I personally don't use it. If you're just getting started and you're kind of diving into that stuff, I would definitely go with a non-paper edition just because you're going to save some money. Also, if you want to go cheaper, I've reviewed two tablets that are very similar to the Intuos. One is the XP Pen. Oh, I'm going to forget the name of it. Deco Pro. It is the Deco Pro. And then I reviewed also a Huion version of kind of the Intuos. Both of those are around $100, so they're significantly cheaper, and they're almost as good. You don't have the wireless, you don't have some of the other features, but in terms of drawing and learning, they're both very good. This question is from Nameless. The question is, what inspires your art style and how have you gotten to it? So mainly my art style is kind of pen and ink based, and it's also cartoon based. And I think part of the reason I came to that was because growing up as a kid, I loved Calvin and Hobbes. I fell in love with a comic book called Bone, and I'm sure it's still published because he published it for like 10 years. And what it was is most cartoons were like in comic strip format back in the day when I was younger, or they were a single comic book and they weren't that good. But I loved like Marvel and DC comics that told a big story over a long period of time. And what Bone did is it told a really, really long story, but it had, I wouldn't call it simplistic art, but more cartoony art. And I fell in love with that kind of stuff and that kind of story. And because I was learning to draw and other people were really good at drawing like the X-Men and Wolverine, and I wasn't that good at that sort of thing, I found cartooning to be a way that I could hone my craft and do something I really enjoy and come up with an end product that I was really proud of and that I really liked, but also was within the realm of something I could draw. And I've been in love with that sort of thing ever since. Next question is from Sherry. The question is, I am new to digital art. I've been using Photoshop, Procreate, and I want to get away from Photoshop and the subscription. I decided to try Affinity, but I'm confused whether I should get Designer or Photo. And she also mentions that she's using this mostly for illustration, not so much for design and stuff. So I would say this, definitely take a look at Affinity Designer if you're looking purely at illustration. One of the cool things about it is Photoshop, it has, you can paint in it. It's a raster program, right? You're painting with pixels like you would with Procreate or something like that. Affinity Designer has those tools. So you have brushes and you have things so you could draw in pencil in Affinity Designer the way you would in Photoshop, but then on top of that, it has all of these vector tools. So you can kind of switch personas and go from, hey, now I'm in kind of the pixel persona, or now I'm in the vector persona. And that's what I love about it. It's kind of like combining the art stuff from Photoshop and the stuff from Adobe Illustrator all in one app. So for illustration, I definitely recommend Designer over Photo. The next question is from Michaela. Where do you think a beginning artist should start or focus their time in order to improve? That's a great question, and a question I'm not 100% sure on, because that's something I've been exploring myself over the past couple months with my art videos that I do in the email here. I think that kind of there's two parts. One is working on your skills, so going out and following tutorials and trying things and getting out of your comfort zone, and most importantly, not being afraid to fail, which is the thing that held me back for a long, long time. I would try something new and I'd be like, I'm just not good at that, and I'd kind of move on to the next thing. It's okay to really suck at something the very first time you do it, and if you are really bad at it, don't be afraid to move on. So that'd be my advice. I've been using Draw a Box, which is very good. You know, some just beginner drawing tutorials out there. Proko is a really good channel for that sort of thing. The other part of it, which is the second part of it, is continue to draw the things you enjoy drawing. I think that's another thing that I've really kind of hammered home to myself this year, is that it's cool to learn stuff and it's cool to ingest stuff, but oftentimes if you're not creating something you like and are proud of, you can get burnt out. And so what I found myself doing is spending a little bit of time doing the stuff that I should be doing to get better, and then going over and doing some stuff that I just enjoy. And then also trying to see like, okay, well, I learned this thing about treating this as a more three-dimensional space, so I'll treat this character's cape like it's wrapping around them or something like that, or parts of the helmet, right? And I'll do that sort of thing just as a way to see it if I can apply some of the things I've learned to what I'm already doing. Next question is from Umar. The question is, what do you do outside of YouTube and illustration? Do you have any hobbies, any games? What things keep you interested? So there's really two things that I enjoy. Actually, there's more than that. I'm a big history buff, so I read a lot of books. I actually listen to a lot of books while I'm working. Let's see. The other thing is I am a gamer. I love Nintendo games. I grew up with Nintendo, like the Super Nintendo and that sort of thing. And so because of that, a lot of the games that came out in the 90s were like Japanese role-playing games. So Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest. So that kind of stuff, I still have like a nostalgic place in my heart for it. Right now, I love my Switch. And I'm playing Dragon Quest Builders 2, which is like Minecraft meets Dragon Quest. It's really awesome. I'm loving that. And the other thing I really like is I like getting outdoors, camping, hiking. I do a lot of walks and hiking, and it really helps me clear my mind and think clearly. So yeah, those are my hobbies. So those are the questions for today. Thank you everybody for asking. If you have a question, just reply to the email I sent you here. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in a couple of days.